Hail to Christmas, joyous Christmas, be gay the day draws near. Hey, friends, welcome to another round of Christmas time movie reviews. And we're starting with the big guy himself, Kris Kringle, jolly old St. Nicholas. That's right, Santa Claus. We all know the story of Santa, don't we? Santa's a jolly guy, red suit, white beard, lives at the North Pole with elves, has 8 tiny reindeer to pull his sleigh, delivers toys to good little boys and girls on Christmas Eve. He comes down the chimney and leaves presents, eats milk and cookies, stuffs stockings, and if you got a hot college-age sister home from school for the holidays, he may even stuff something else. But what if there was more to Santa Claus? What if the Santa we all know and love wasn't the real deal? What if Santa was less Rankin Bass and more radical badass? Well, I found some movies for you that all have a fresh take on Santa. So let's have a look, shall we? First up, we have Fatman from 2020. This stars Mel Gibson as Santa, and it's totally amazing. He does have magic powers, but it's more low-key magic. Anyway, there's this rich little brat who gets mad at Santa and hires a hitman, puts out a contract on Santa Claus, and Santa fights back. This was a lot of fun, and yet kinda serious too. Gibson is great as Santa. Santa has to work with the military to build weapons, which explains how he's able to operate in the modern world. It's a great picture and a nice surprise. If you've never seen this one, treat yourself. We also have this one, Violent Night from 2020. I posted about this one last year. I went to go see it at the theater, and man, did I love it. Here, Santa was originally a Nordic warrior and wound up getting rooked into being Santa Claus. And he has magic powers and everything, but he's kind of burnt out and bitter about the commercialism and fake sentiments of the modern-day Christmas. But when he stops by this little girl's house, he's inspired. First of all, she has real homemade cookies. None of that store-bought junk, which goes a long way to please Santa. Anyway, this family is rich and powerful, and they're under siege by some baddies trying to rob them. Santa gets caught up in the mayhem and starts kicking ass, Viking style, to help protect the kid and save Christmas. The family is comprised of mostly terrible people, but the kid is a good kid, and Santa has to do the right thing even though he'd rather just leave. This one is so damn good. There's some gore, but it's mostly just funny, and there's humor running throughout the picture. Santa, as an action hero, has to be seen to be believed. And how about this one? Santa's Sleigh from 2005. Now in this one, Santa is just the opposite. He's actually one of Satan's kids. And way back in the day, an angel tricked him into becoming the Santa we know, forced to be good for 1,000 years. Now that 1,000 years are up, and Santa's out to kill the angel who tricked him and wreak havoc on the world. Our hero is a high school student. He and his girl have to face off against this killer Claus. But how do you defeat a demon? In our cast is Robert Culp as the kid's grandfather, and Dave Thomas is here as a not-so-devout preacher. Santa is played by pro wrestler Bill Goldberg. There are also brief appearances by Fran Drescher, thankfully that was brief, and even James Caan. This one also has Rebecca Gayheart from Earth 2, among many other things, but I remember her best from Earth 2. I love that show. Santa dispatches these people pretty fast, so these are all cameos. This is a lot of fun, and there's some good humor in it along with the murderous mayhem. Being from 2005, you even get to see the goods when Santa stops by a strip club. But really, this is a good picture and worth checking out. So, you want a more creepy Kringle, you say? Well, how about this? Rare Exports from 2010. This one is set in the hinterland of Finland or Sweden or Norway or wherever, on the border of Ruskeland. And the language is not English, but Norwegian or something. Don't let that stop you, though. This one is imaginative and has real snow. See, our hero is this kid. His dad and his friends live way out in the boonies and are reindeer farmers, I guess. Anyway, this kid's mom died and the kid and his dad live all alone. The kid has done some research on Santa and the legends of St. Nicholas, and he believes Santa is evil. Meanwhile, just across the border in Ruskeland, those no-good Ruskies are up to no good, as usual. There's a researcher who figured out that this big-ass mountain isn't a mountain at all, but a burial mound. This thing was built by Neolithic man to contain something, and that something turns out to be the real Santa. Only Santa isn't a jolly fat man, no. He's a big-assed demon. Santa's elves are killers and trying to protect their boss, I guess. Anyway, there's a lot of mayhem as said elves kill people and kidnap children while the research team is digging up Santa. This one is actually really cool and a very different take on Santa Claus. Like the others on this list, Rare Exports also has some dark humor running throughout. A really good picture. If you've not seen it, I think you'll like this one. There is some gore, but it's not too much. Speaking of old school Santas, we have Saint, also from 2010. Like Rare Exports, this one is also in Swedish or Norwegian or Finlandian or Denmarkian or whatever. Anyway, in this one, it turns out Santa is, again, not a jolly old elf, but a murderous bishop. See, back when Columbus was sailing around in 1492, this here bishop and his minions were cheerfully going around the countryside murdering people. But then the people rose up and burned him and his minions alive on his boat. But that leads to a curse. Now Nicholas comes back every time there's a full moon on that day, December the 5th. He steals kids and takes them to Spain, I guess, and kills people. So about every 30-odd years or so, this happens. Well, in the 1960s, Santa and his crew killed this little kid's family. Flash forward to the present day, and that kid is now a cop who has sworn to protect people from Santa. But no one believes the poor guy. Plus, the government in Swede-Finnorland wants to cover it up since there's no dealing with this menace, and the fake image of Saint Nick is good for the tourist trade and business in general. But the real hero of the story is a student whose ex-girlfriend is given the chop by Santa's minions. He and the policeman team up to take down this killer Kris Kringle. I really enjoyed this one, and there's some comedic elements running throughout. There is a bit of gore, but it's not too bad. The only thing I thought looked cheap was that they used shaving cream for snow. It's kind of obvious in some places, but hey, you do what you gotta do. Being set in Scandinavia, we see their version of St. Nicholas, complete with people dressing up as the politically incorrect minions. that wouldn't fly today, would it? No. Finally, dig this one. Sleigh Bells from 2018. I wasn't expecting much going in, but man, this one's incredible. So, these two chicks are the Adventure Girls, YouTubers who go around doing urban exploring in these anime-inspired outfits, and then post videos of their adventures on the internet. They rook a friend into joining them on a new adventure to explore Santaland, an abandoned theme park. Well, turns out Krampus is on the loose, killing people. And it also turns out that the guy who owns the defunct Santaland is none other than Santa himself, the real Santa. Santa is retired and is trying to keep Krampus in check, but he needs help. So together, Santa and the girls team up to stop Krampus before he can destroy the world and ruin Christmas. This thing is such a hoot. It starts out like a typical low-budget horror flick, but it soon becomes way more than that. It's really funny. Plus, the Krampus costume is very good. The movie stars Barry Bostwick, no less, as Santa. The filmmakers didn't have a lot of money in the budget to pay him, but he did it for fun after reading the script. There's a bartender played by Diane Salinger, who you may remember as the Penguin's mom in Batman Returns. And we have the late Richard Mall from Night Court. Here he cameos as a police officer. This was his final movie role. This is a really funny picture, surprisingly funny. And for low budget, it still comes off looking pretty good. Not one for the kiddies, though, due to language and other things. But it's totally worth checking out. Look, I can highly recommend any of these. All of them are fun, and each has a cool new spin on Santa that you've likely not seen before. There's comedy, action, a smattering of horror, and any gore is mostly on the minimal end of the spectrum, and are more or less comedic. Any of these pictures are sure to be a hoot for a Christmas-themed movie night. More Christmas action is on the way, so you stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next one.